My Lord. I actually, when I saw the Amendment 97, was pleased to see the focus was on actually the post-implementation review report in terms of the abolition of Defence of Reasonable Punishment Wales Act. I'm actually keen that the UK government digs deeper into the impact of what's known as the Welsh smacking ban. I'm keen that the government reviews the evidence, reviews the data, and hopefully draws a conclusion that this is not something that should be brought into UK law, but doing that by looking at the evidence. I've been, obviously, as somebody in Wales, have been involved in this debate for some time, have had lots of discussions, done media discussions, spoken on the issue over the years. But having heard the noble Lady Baroness Finlay talk about the report, I felt as though we'd probably read different reports, but also had different interpretations. So that just shows you that is worth digging into. Because I do have some serious reservations about the success of the law change. And I think that there has been some rather unintended, though predictable, outcomes. And so I just want to raise a few of those. Of course, I understand that the movers of this amendment, are motivated by concern for abuse of children. But I think it's very important to note that we're all motivated by a concern about abuse for children. This is something that we can share. But one of my worries is the impact of the law change in terms of the pressures it's placing on social services in Wales, in terms of thousands of new referrals that have been made to Welsh social services that have involved the police, that are actually costing millions of pounds and lots of time. And to be honest, it can mean that real abuse is being squeezed out or relativised by what's happening. The influx of referrals is not a surprise when any report of smacking is automatically triggers an investigation by social services, and the escalation of reports is no doubt because of the Welsh Government's guidance to a wide range of organisations who work or care or volunteer with children, that anyone who witnesses a parent smacking a child should immediately contact social services. My concern is that valuable resources are being taken away from protecting children who are at genuine risk of harm and being diverted into trivial cases where harm hasn't been caused, even if people ideologically don't agree with the chastisement of smacking. It's not that the same as abuse. Because even the most zealous anti-smacking campaigner, I thought before I heard some people in this debate, should concede that a well-intentioned tap on the back of a tot's hand or leg by a parent who loves their child is not an abuser. I mean, I was actually a bit shocked when I heard the noble Lord Hampton saying that, you know, any child who says, I don't get a good grade, I'll be beaten, which is a shocking thing to hear a child say. And it's actually illegal to beat a child. In this country. Of course it is. And the idea that that's the same as smacking in the way that the law is permissible in the law in England, that conflation of brutality with smacking and mild physical chastisement, parental discipline, is the kind of sleight of hand that distorts the evidence and makes this a far too emotional discussion and is so insulting to parents. I mean, that's what I found shocking. If we actually examine the guidance notes issued by various Welsh local authorities, you can see how resources that might be best spent protecting children of serious risk of, for example, beating if you don't pass your exams, I think that would be worth investigating, can become diverted. So one example used in one of the guidance notes was a teacher, this is an example, it says, a teacher reported that a young pupil stated his father smacked him because he was naughty. The advice from the Welsh Government was that the teacher should trigger a Section 47 investigation, which would include 2 uniformed officers visiting and talking to the 4-year-old. And it's that sort of escalation and the dragging of the family into the orbit of social services and police forces that I worry about. And obviously there are implications for the workloads of frontline staff with statutory duty to investigate all referrals regardless of severity. That creates a danger of services unable to prioritise cases where there's a genuine risk of abuse or neglect. And that just gets me to another worry I have, that the fact that parents are caught up in this. When the Welsh law change was argued for, supporters insisted that, as we've heard actually, that the law wouldn't be heavy-handed and that the movers, the supporters of the law change, didn't want to criminalise parents. I mean, I thought it would, but I had many of those debates. But I think whether we like it or not, a new criminal category has been created in Wales in which erstwhile parenting styles that some may have disapproved of but were legal is now being dragged into the framework of existing assault laws. And although, to be fair, the Welsh Government has sought to mitigate large-scale prosecutions, and partly, by the way, because the courts are so busy, so they haven't been able to use the courts, and have deployed out-of-court diversionary schemes, nonetheless, parents are being questioned by police, social services, investigated and accused of a criminal activity, and even settled out of court, a criminal activity that's part of the assault of a child scheme. And I think the shame, the humiliation, the injustice, and what's more, I would have thought this would affect, as we've actually heard from a previous speaker, this will affect the employment prospects, because even out-of-court settlements are being added to enhanced DBS checks. So a mum who has gone on one of these courses, education courses, could find that she can't be a care assistant or a childminder because she'd stopped her child running into the road in front of a car by slapping them and somebody reported it. So I do think we've got to consider reputations trashed, parents' jobs at jeopardy, goodness knows what the impact is on family life and parent-child relationships, especially when I hear noble lords comparing maybe a smacking dad and putting him into the same category as a monster who beats his child black and blue. That must be so demoralising. It's certainly unfair, it's disproportionate, and all in the name of positive parenting. I would like to therefore encourage the government to review and look at what's happened in Wales, but maybe with a different view, a different set of research and evidence than we've heard today. Because actually a recent literature review of 37 peer-reviewed studies have noticed the tendency to conflate correlation with causation, have noted unrepresentative samples. There is a problem in Wales, by the way, of incomplete data gathering, often different localities collecting data in different ways. Some, it seems to me, ideological rather than scientific assertions being normalised. So I would suggest that the UK government, yes, look at Wales, but no, don't emulate them. And I think that those of us who are concerned about this overreach by the state into parenting and parents' autonomy, who love their children and so on, and conflating that with abuse, I think is really an unworthy way of conducting a serious discussion. We all want children to be safe. And some people think that a tap on the leg is the same as abuse. It isn't.